And good evening, comic book friends. It's time for another episode of Comic Book Roundtable on our odd night of Saturday. I am here with the esteemed Sleepy Reader 666. How's it going, Damien?
Hey everyone, glad to be on.
Yeah. And my ever-present co-host, even though she says she isn't, Jen. How's it going?
Hey, comic pals.
So we're going to jump right in and talk books. We're kind of limited on time to some degree, so we're going to talk some books and see what happens. So we want to talk DC first. We're going to talk Marvel last. The reason we're going to talk Marvel last is hey, comic book friends. Damien doesn't really have any episode of Comic Book Roundtable on our odd night of Saturday. I'm getting somebody else's.
Was that me?
Might have been you.
I just clicked out of a...
Okay.
It's not me because I don't have that.
But anyway, we're going to talk Marvel last because Damien didn't really pick up any Marvel books. So if we run late, me and Jill will talk Marvel books at the end. So let's talk DC books. What do we want to talk about first? Did we all pick up Batman Eternal?
Batman Eternal, sure.
Yes.
Which of course I haven't. I just got this read today, Damien. So I haven't listened to your talk on the issue.
I didn't have anything really important to say. I did address the ongoing discussion between videos between us about whether it looks like it's 90s art or not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think maybe not. I'm talking about the artist Guillaume Marsh or Guillaume Marsh. He maybe not purely 90s, but it's a retro feel to me.
Okay.
Harking back to a bunch of different maybe artists of different times. Including Kelly Jones a little bit. And he even reminds me of Joe Kubert in places, strangely. But I thought this was a good issue. I enjoyed reading it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing about this, and of course, you know, anybody who hasn't watched the show, we will spoil the hell out of whatever we feel like spoiling the hell out of. So the one, you know, thing I think of most note in this is the character that they kind of introduce at the end of this, who I'm not a Batman aficionado. I mean, I collect quite a bit of Batman, but I don't know. I mean, that's a new person, right? That's some.
She's not new. She was introduced a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Really?
But I read that on the internet, so.
Well, if it was
she was
really
introduced a long time ago. Yeah. It was quite a bit ago. So.
Then who knows if it's a at all in continuity, you know, now.
Right.
She was like pre-crisis, so.
Okay.
So that's a real long time.
I mean, I did like the fact that, you know, in the last issue and the beginning of this issue, you get the impression that that's Catwoman, right? At least I did. When he first shows up in Hong Kong, I thought it was Catwoman that was doing the seemingly cat burglary kind of thing, right?
That's what I had thought, but other people immediately spotted that it wasn't Catwoman.
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
Yeah. I didn't look at it that closely. I guess I just saw the gray bodysuit and went, "Oh, Catwoman," without even really.
That's what I thought too.
I'd have to go back and look at the issue to know, you know, to know otherwise. I guess, but.
Plus, she kind of went, "Oh, he's here," so I thought she had a close relationship to Batman when she saw him flying in.
Right.
In that moment, but she doesn't. So she knows who Batman is, but Batman doesn't know who he is, who she is.
So I'll be curious to see how, you know, what is she going to be a player in this? I mean, or not, because obviously she got ran through with a sword, so I don't know how fast she's going to heal up to, you know, to be a factor in the story. Other than it takes Alfred out of play, I think if he's going to be, you know, babysitting her.
Right. And some people, well, now we're really going to spoil it. Some people guessed that this was Alfred's daughter. Could be some other kind of relative to Alfred, but one assumes it's a relative.
In the previous version, it was his daughter, so maybe.
Doesn't she? I mean, and Grant, doesn't she seem awfully young to be his daughter? I mean, I guess maybe not. I don't know what. I guess
I
that
guess
doesn't
my
matter.
daughter might be her age, because I'm a very old father. But yes, she
That's
does.
true.
She seems kind of old
Mm-hmm.
to have such a young daughter.
I mean, my next question is when would Alfred have had time? But
It was supposedly during his Secret Service
oh,
type
okay, when he was part of the
job.
MI6 and stuff. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess I haven't bothered to scour to look on the internet to see what. I'll have to do that now. I'll have to look up about the character because, like I said, she was new to me. I, didn't recognize her. Or the name didn't ring a bell. So, and of course, the other thing of note in here is, Catwoman is now been captured by the Falcone family, and that probably means bad things for her, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm told by other people who know more than I do that Catwoman may be Falcone's daughter. At least in some Catwoman comics of the past, that's been implied.
Hmm.
In the Long Halloween, wasn't she sort of implied to be somehow connected to the family?
Yeah. I don't. It's been so long since I've read that. I don't remember, but I do remember there being some.
I guess there was a Catwoman series called like When in Rome or something like that, where
Uh-huh.
she
I haven't read
comes
that.
to believe that Falcone is her father.
Mm.
I don't know if that's why she scratched him,
Yeah.
because he deserted her or what. Before hearing that, I had somehow thought they had been lovers in the past, and then she deserted him and scratched him in the process. If she is his daughter, the idea that he wants to torture her to death is particularly disturbing. Although it's disturbing in any case.
Right. Right. Other than we know she gets out of this, right? I mean, that's
Right. We also know that.
that's one of my problems with that whole that Batman issue where they gave us this kind of preview of what's coming.
Yeah, we know she kind of becomes like a crime boss, right?
Right. She becomes the boss. So, I mean, granted, we get to read to see how that happens, but I don't know. The more I'm reading this, I'm enjoying Batman Eternal, but it feels like that preview just spoiled the hell out of the book in a lot of ways.
I didn't even read the preview, but I've heard enough from people's reviews of it to know the spoilers.
Right. So, I mean, that's just I know. I think that's kind of an unfortunate. I mean, I get the idea of trying to wet our whistles to what might be coming, but wow, I mean, it feels like that spoiler is like 30 weeks into the book is what it feels like when that's going to happen because we're so far removed from that. I guess the journey of getting to that is going to be interesting and exciting, but still, it's kind of I don't know. That's takes away some of the fun.
Well, and with Batman Eternal, I'm finding that I've kind of decided to turn my brain off a little bit with it. Like, it's good, but don't examine it too closely.
Right.
That it's not like going to be the deepest Batman ever. It's more fun, popcorn, Saturday matinee kind of Batman, in my mind so far. Because also, if I get too logical about it, like Batman goes all the way to Hong Kong just to get what turns out to be one piece of information, not any real deep information about Falcone that's that useful or anything.
Right.
It was just fun to send him on the trip and have him meet Julia Pennyworth and all of that.
I think you're going to get a lot more of that because it's a weekly comic.
Right.
They're not going to condense it down into all significant, important beats. I just can't imagine them doing that. I mean, I think this gives them the ability to be a little sloppy if they want to,
Right.
But I'm still having fun with it. I'm surprised at how much fun I'm having with it. I was suspicious going into a weekly comic what that was going to be like for me, but have definitely been enjoying it.
Another question that's come up, again, I have to credit other people for noticing it. Joshua Hayes, I think. This guy, why can't I get it into my screen? There's a guy who appears to be Rhodes, who was blown up in a previous issue, is giving the police commissioner a ride in this issue.
Yeah.
Unless that's actually someone else called Roadrunner, who looks similar to Rhodes.
Yeah, that I don't know. Yeah.
That kind of confused me too.
Right.
So.
I think that was probably just a time continuity slip, but I'm not sure.
Could be. Anything else you want to say about Batman Eternal?
No.
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 It was fun. It was fun, and that's about where it stands for me.
How about Justice League 3000? Are we all reading Justice League 3000?
Yes.
I loved it till near the end of the issue when it kind of undid itself in my mind. Again, I'd have to really spoil it to discuss that fact.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
So the basic setup is we have this evil people who are ruling most of the galaxy called the Five, and then some people at Cadmus who are trying to rebel against them.
Right.
And then at the end of this, we find that one of the top guys at Cadmus is the leader of the Five. So why would he have wanted to bring back the Justice League in the first place to help him defeat the Five? It's been a fun ride, but it sort of negates the whole point of it, it seems to me.
Yeah.
Although I loved this issue up to that point.
Yeah.
So, and that's I'm sure it'll still be fun.
That's kind of what I thought too. Is like, okay, so what was the, you're right. What was the whole point of the thing if he, creating? They already control everything basically. So what was the point?
Right.
I mean, was it solely? Did they create these people solely to ferret out the person whose brainchild it is, whatever her name is? I can't remember her name offhand.
I suppose that could be the reason. It seems, yeah. But I don't know why. Yeah, I guess that must be the reason for the whole thing then.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope, obviously, next issue we're going to be, some of that will kind of get clued into us. I really love the book. I enjoy the heck out of it. I love the interactions between the characters. It does feel like they kind of hit us over the head with it by making the statement, gee, it looks like they're acting more like themselves. And I do think in some degree they are kind of falling into their roles to some degree.
Right.
I still really love the artwork. I love the way Howard Porter draws these characters. I love the environment and how he creates the environment. I'm actually happier with him doing the art than I think I would have been if Kevin McGuire was supposed to be the guy that was on the book. They end up kicking him off the last moment because they kind of want to go a different direction with the book. And I think I am enjoying this more than I would have if he was doing the artwork on it.
I don't know Kevin McGuire's artwork well enough.
Well, he did the Justice League run that Giffen and DeMatteis. Right. They were the team, and that's what everybody was all excited about, to have that team back. And I actually, like I said, I think I like this better.
This is really great science fiction art. I mean,
yeah.
I think I'm enjoying this far more than the other Justice League books.
Oh.
So.
Without a doubt, it doesn't feel like a Justice League book. I don't know. At least the current standards that we have for Justice League books right now, it's definitely more enjoyable than that is. And I'm curious to see where it goes. They basically have blown up all of Cadmus, right? I mean, it seems that most everybody in Cadmus went boom. So, I mean, that just leaves this screwed up Justice League and the creator to figure out whatever. I mean, you're right though. That really did screw up our dynamic as far as what we thought was going on. Us against them. Now there's no us against them. So,
I mean, it's always kind of, I guess it's kind of fun to have a completely unexpected twist, and I certainly didn't expect that.
Well, yeah, him breaking his sister's neck, I was like, what?
Right.
So, yeah, that was.
But it feels like he's so all powerful. Why did and the Five are in general so all powerful? Why did they need to, in a sense, create their own false antagonist?
Yeah, like I said, the only thing
was no one actually to fight against them.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing I can think of is that they were trying to. But
get
that doesn't
the
make
scientists back.
Right, but that doesn't make
sense.
sense.
Sort of gave the scientist her work in the first place.
Yeah, as I say, you're right. That doesn't make. I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see, huh? If this was just if you're right, they really did shoot themselves in the foot, or if we're gonna, see something special come out of the other end of it.
Right.
Yeah. What else?
It's a hell of a lot of fun to read, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. What else do you want to talk about from DC?
Well, how about Earth 2 then? That's
okay.
Sort of the same vein.
That works.
And both of these are kind of sort of Justice League, but better than the real Justice League.
Yeah, definitely.
That's true.
Definitely. I love Jimmy Olsen in this issue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love that conversation he has with the Thomas Wayne Batman.
Yeah, he just kind of takes Thomas Wayne to task, and I love it. I'm contemplating being your Robin, but you're gonna have to fix your attitude before. I just like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like this. This is the first time I really liked Jimmy Olsen ever that I can remember.
Yeah, I'm not a big Jimmy Olsen fan. I mean, I like what he represents in the the old comics, but yeah, I'm not a big fan per se. But in this version of the character is great. It was cool seeing Green Lantern just basically mopping the floor with people and whatnot.
Right.
It was kind of nice seeing the heroes beat people up because they've been on the ropes for quite a few issues, haven't they? So it's kind of nice to see somebody besides Aquawoman beating people up as opposed to getting beat up. So that part was pretty cool. But really, for me, the best part of it was the Jimmy Olsen's interaction with Batman and with this other Kryptonian. That I like that part too.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked a lot of touches, like the way you can't really torture the Flash too much because he heals so fast.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
because I like this Flash of Earth 2, but they haven't done a lot with him yet, and I was glad to see him. There was no Lois Lane Red Tornado in this issue. I missed that, but I presume we'll get back to her next issue because she's definitely one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, me too.
And this issue had Eddie Burrows on art instead of Nicholas Scott, and I really enjoyed it. It didn't feel jarring. Their art is close enough to each other to not suddenly make me open up and go, whoa, this is just dramatically differently drawn or whatever. So
yeah, it was a good choice for a fill-in artist. And
yeah,
still the same colorist who does a really killer job.
Right.
Series.
Right. It's gone back to once again just being a really great superhero comic, just in the traditional sense of a superhero comic. It hits almost all the beats that I think that it needs to hit. Really happy to have had Taylor take over the book. I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
Yeah. Lots of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I feel guilty in a weird way that I don't miss James Robinson.
I don't at all. I mean, his run to start out with was really exciting. It just kind of was, oh boy, and then it got flat. And I don't know if that flattening happened because of the editorial pressures and he wasn't enjoying it, so he just kind of phoned it in. I don't know, or what, but
well, and it's out. It's from several weeks ago, but he's doing Invaders at Marvel, and it's so bad still.
Yeah.
Issue was the end of his arc, and he's phoning it in totally there.
Yeah. I couldn't get past issue 3 on that, and that was painful as it was. So, not to pick on the guy, but that was just not good at all.
No, if I hadn't subscribed to 12 issues, I would have stopped at issue 2 or 3 also.
Right. So, want to talk Swamp Thing?
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
I know that's another book we all get. And I know that that Damien was having some fun on Twitter talking about algae around this book.
Yeah, and I guess algae is kind of a gray area where some algae may be plants and some algae may be animals.
Yeah.
Some algae may be something else.
Right. As you were talking about on Twitter, I was busy Googling to see what I could find on it because I'm like, huh. So some of it falls into a plant category, some of it falls under animal, and some of it falls under they haven't really decided what they want to call it. So
right.
So I guess they're they can get away with it if that matters. If those kinds of things matter. To me, I don't know that it mattered that much.
They just made me think of it with their mold their fungus person. If they hadn't done Avatar of the Fungus, I wouldn't be thinking about that kind of thing.
Yeah, this was an okay issue. There were parts of it that I really liked. I thought it was funny, Aquaman's answer to dealing with to dealing with him to get rid of him, I thought was fairly funny. To basically have him eaten by manatees
Yeah.
as a way to get rid of him, I thought was pretty hilarious.
I
And
loved the drawings of the manatees were so cool looking.
yeah.
I think I would have, if the drawings weren't so good, I would have resented Aquaman's presence more. That he was just kind of a pointless
and,
thing.
and
Aquaman haters.
did anybody read the Aquaman half? Because see, I didn't read the Aquaman half. Yeah.
I did.
And how was that? I mean, did that play into the story well, or what was going on in it?
It was okay. I don't know. It wasn't one of the best issues I've read.
Because it was Aquaman.
No, it was not
Aquaman is
because
good
it
in
was
the new
Aquaman. But actually, the new writer that took over, I'm still not, sure I'm feeling it.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's a writer you've liked in the past, Travis. Jeff Parker.
Oh yeah. But it sounds to me like though that Johns' run on that book was really strong.
Yes.
In comparison to some of his other runs that he has in the New 52, that run was pretty strong, and that's hard to follow. Because I do think when Johns is on, and he does a very good job of writing a story, and if he's not, he's not. And he was really into Aquaman, and it showed. I think.
Yeah. Aquaman was where he was showing off and proving he could take this unpopular character and make him good.
Right.
And I thought he did a really good job on it. But I did drop it just because I had too much other stuff to read.
Yeah. But you're right. The art in this book is amazing. Jesus Hayes, I think, is just an incredible artist. I'm always excited when he gets on books. He's been really strong on this book, I think. The colorist, we've talked about the colorist before, continues to nail a million variations of green and make it enjoyable. And because it's one of those kind of things I think that could be pretty fatiguing or make the entire page bland because we're dealing with so much green that you think, ugh. But no, it's very, it's still.
Here he does it with blue also. He's working with blue and green under the water.
Mm-hmm.
Plot-wise, I thought this was. I felt like Charles Soule managed to take this crossover that probably wasn't really his choice and still keep his plot going and make a few interesting twists. So it made it a, not the best issue of the run, but still a good issue despite the distraction of Aquaman.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because at the beginning and basically at the end of it, if nothing else, we get our three ex-avatars. They get their digs in the issue and continue to lay the groundwork for obviously what's going to be a continuing problem for Alec Holland Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Especially
I'm loving Lady Weeds.
Especially with Lady Weeds, shoving a knife through his face at the very end of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "I know it's going to do no good."
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
This is pointless, but just so we have it clear, I hate you,
right.
kind of a thing. So
I think also, in this, I can't remember the German name, he was calling it this sort of wild, semi-mindless avatar of the green that had also created its own
pocket dimension, basically,
pocket of the green, pocket of the. I think that might be something that Soule is going to come back to as some way to solve the current problems.
Right.
It shows you can kind of recreate the green, so that maybe eventually Swamp Thing can use that to recreate his own version of the green and the council.
Right, the Parliament.
Or something. The Parliament, right.
Right, because they do bring up an interesting point in the fact that, some of the consequences, it's not just so simply as having shut the Parliament down. The Parliament actually did something besides just kind of pester the Avatar. I mean, they had roles and they had purpose, and now that they're not around, it's hinted that, he's either got to be on top of everything all the time or things are going to go bonkers around him because he can't manage it all as much as he thinks he can. It's not possible. It's the equivalent of a giant mega corporation. There's reasons that you have middle management is because one person can't do it all, and that's kind of what they've implied that. So yeah, interesting. And like I said, and at least two of those ex-avatars are very happy to allow this whole thing just to go totally south.
To watch him squirm.
Right.
Well, and I wonder if they're completely telling him the truth now, or if they're playing some longer game
Yeah.
against him.
Mm.
Because the Wolf, is that his name?
Yeah.
The bald guy,
Yeah.
he's the one who set up the company that stole his body before.
Right.
And he said,
Right.
well, now I'm going to do something else to him, now that
Yeah.
didn't work.
I'm curious as to how long Lady Weeds is going to be in league with the Wolf, because she strikes me as somebody who's going to get rather fairly bored of his antics after a while too, because that doesn't seem to be her kind of flavor of things. So
True.
yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't seem like she would work well with others.
No.
Play
Not
well.
unless they're giving her lots of fresh meat, then maybe she does. Yeah, that's a cool character. Like I said, I really been enjoying Charles Soule's. His take on Swamp Thing has been really strong, I think. So
Yeah, it's very enjoyable.
Everyone should be reading it.
yes,
You can afford to buy 2 copies.
yeah. Not that we normally push comics on people, but we're all really worried because we occasionally look. All three of us occasionally look at the sales of these books, and Swamp Thing is selling lower than some books they've canceled. So most of those books they've canceled, they've now rebooted. The Titans and Suicide Squad anyway, but some of them they just got rid of. So why Swamp Thing is still around, I don't know. Happy that it is. Happy that somebody in DC must like it, and that's why they're keeping it around. So.
And it's a good book. It's not like
It
we're
is.
pushing a trash book. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like Swamp Thing's our favorite character, and it doesn't matter whether it's a good story or not. You should go out and buy it. It really has been enjoyable. So.
Right. And I think, well, a lot of us were kind of not expecting it to be good at this point, but it was,
Right.
when a new writer took it over.
Yeah. Yeah. So, other DC books we want to talk about? I've only got one more.
Green Arrow.
Green Arrow. Yeah. Yep. Start of a new arc.
I was almost picked it up because I am tempted to get back on Green Arrow. Should I pick it up?
I enjoyed it.
I really like it. I mean, like I said, for me, always is going to be the first sell on the thing is the art. Sarantino and his colorist, I can never remember their name. They always kill it. I think they have great storytelling. The atmosphere, just the way the book looks as far as that goes, and because they're despite the stuff that's happened, they've kind of kept it street level, and that style of art works well, I think, for a kind of a dark, gritty street level, and they've continued to keep the character that way. They've got a group of villains going after Green Arrow now. That's somewhat interesting to see how they're using those characters now. Some are new, I think, and some of them are old characters from Green Arrow's past in prior incarnations of the book. And I'm still not really excited about the Diggle part. The Diggle part still kind of bothers me.
I was going to ask you about that.
Because he plays a bigger role.
I like when he called Count Vertigo Count Chocula, though.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
Yeah, that was funny. I mean, yeah. The only other part of it I didn't really care for. I didn't care for the kind of quick speech that Richard Dragon gives to basically monologue why he's a villain. That to me that seemed very it seemed very cliche comic book kind of a way to do it. As he's got the guy captive there, he gives us a quick 2 or 3 page rundown of why I'm a supervillain, and that part was
Richard Dragon a hero in the 70s or the 80s?
See, that name sounds really familiar, but I can't. To tell you the truth, I can't place it. I haven't looked up to see.
I think he was in some brief sort of martial arts superhero thing in the 70s or 80s. I vaguely remember that.
Right. In this, he's not, though. In this, his dad was a drug lord kingpin that used to run Seattle. His dad gets destroyed by Green Arrow, and then after seeing how weak his dad was, he kind of runs away and joins the League of Assassins, becomes an uber assassin, then kills his teacher, whose name was Richard Dragon, and takes the name for ultimate power, and then comes back to Seattle to wreak havoc on Seattle and more so on Green Arrow, basically.
Mm-hmm. So
And
maybe they just took the name then.
right, and right, I think so, just to continue to use the names. And then, of course, we get kind of a surprise at the end of Green Arrow's sister showing up.
Yeah.
Which
There are
that
quite a
part,
few surprise endings this week.
yeah,
Did we know he had a sister?
Yes, yes, yes. We knew that from the prior arc. The prior arc lets us know that he has this sister and whatnot, and he had left the sister with her mother because it's a stepsister basically, and I kind of thought that for a while that would be the end. We wouldn't see any more of them, of her, and whatnot, and kind of surprised to see her back. I wonder if she'll take the role of Speedy. She's claimed Green Arrow. She shoots a bunch of arrows into Brick, and Brick is kind of he's like a brick. He's got really hard skin and whatnot. You can't really penetrate his skin. He's an older Green Arrow character, and he gets shot with a bunch of arrows, and he turns to see who it is that's shooting him with arrows as he's about ready to beat the snot out of Green Arrow. And it's Green Arrow's sister, and she's laying claim that she is the new Green Arrow, as she's covered this guy with arrows. So I don't know. She could fill that role, and I'll be curious to see if she does.
It was cool.
But I can also at the same time, despite her skill, I think Ollie's going to do the same thing that her father did and tell her, no, you need to stay home. You can't be out running around, shooting arrows at people and stuff. But
is she quite young?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, he kind of left her before. He didn't try to take her with him.
Well, because she was going to stay with Mom. She said, "I'm going to stay with Mom." Didn't he offer, "You can go with who you want to, you can go with me," and she made the choice at the time. I'm going to stay with Mom. I mean, yeah, there's a picture of her. She is a young teen at best.
Huh.
I would say, don't you think, Jen, from the prior stuff we read?
Yeah, she's very. I thought she would be maybe 12 or 13 or something.
She's yeah. But.
Well, she sounds like a fun character in the mix. If she's trying to be Green Arrow and he's trying to stop her or something.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if he's going to or not. I can't imagine him being okay with her running around shooting people with arrows at 10 or 11 or whatever, however old she is.
Right.
But it'll be curious to see. But I'm enjoying it. Now, should you run out and go get it, Damien? I don't know. It wasn't like a super strong issue. But like I said, for me, the biggest sell point of it is the art. That's
and that's whenever I see some samples of Sorrentino's art, I go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have left Green Arrow.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's been enjoyable, but it hasn't been wow, this is just. There have been some wow panels, and I liked the last arc. I liked the whole Outsider War thing. I thought that was enjoyable, but
I can't remember now what it was, but there's something in the arc before the Outsider arc that bothered me and made me drop it, but it just irritated me for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, the other DC books I got were kids' books, the Tiny Titans. This is called The Return to the Treehouse. It's I believe it's a mini-series, and if you have kids, it's a lot of fun, or if you like kids' comics, I think you would enjoy it. It's extremely well done and full of endless jokes about DC Comics, basically. Got a lot of Ace the Bat Hound and Crypto action here. Metamorpho even shows up, and there's Ace the Bat Hound's chewing on one of his legs, which is a tree trunk.
Right.
It's just full of that stuff, which is fun.
Yeah.
And even briefer mention to Looney Tunes, but before we went on the air, Travis and I were talking with my daughter and joking about how this is now the longest-running DC comic because it's up to issue 219.
Yeah.
So DC's been publishing Looney Tunes for 219 issues. Wasn't even aware until recently that they did that.
Yeah, they started publishing those. Well, they've done it a couple different times, but it's when Warner Brothers took over DC, then
right. It makes sense.
Gave them ample opportunity to use those characters in comic book fashion. So, yeah.
And if you like Looney Tunes cartoons, the Looney Tune comic is fun.
Yeah.
So it's also very fun to read with a kid, of course.
Yeah. Did you get any other DC books, Jen, you want to talk about?
The only other DC book I got was Future's End, which I'm still I'm enjoying it. Grifter got gagged in this issue, so that was enjoyable.
Uh, we're not Grifter fans, so.
Well, I used to kind of like him a bit, but I'm not loving him in this series, or maybe it's just New 52 version.
Yeah, New 52 Grifter is
So is this shaping up to be a comic that's solely about characters who got canceled?
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't read early on stuff, so Mr. Terrific's in here.
Yeah, he's a canceled comic. Yeah. Grifter's a canceled comic.
Frankenstein's in it.
Grifter. Frankenstein was in the last issue a lot. Batman Beyond's in it. Who else is?
So Batman Beyond was never canceled. So this is sort of the first DCU kind of thing.
S.A.T.U.R.D.A.Y is in it.
Does it have Amethyst?
I don't know who this woman is. Amethyst has been in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny that they're trying to have a big event with all their canceled characters.
Firestorm is also canceled. I kind of actually in this issue, Firestorm is like the really interesting part about the book. So I'm really liking that story. Constantine was in it. It wasn't. I don't know where that's going to go. Some alien thing going on there. I don't know. It's not. It's a fun read. So I mean, I guess I'm really enjoying these weeklies. Ignore my phone.
I'm kind of tempted to try and grab the issues and get on it because I'm finding a lot of fun in reading a weekly book. But I'm not sure whether I would want to jump on it or not. But I'm a little tempted.
Yeah, see, that makes me tempted to read it just because it's got all of those Misfits characters.
Right.
I mean, the fact that it's become kind of we're going to use all these characters that didn't. I'm waiting for like the Blackhawks to show up in it, and just to see who else they can throw in. That's kind of fun.
They must have a lot of, even though they're forced to cancel a lot of things, they must have a lot of affection for those things to purposefully bring them back. But it seems kind of like a suicidal move on the part of.
Yeah, I don't know, and there's some I don't know. Like there's this woman who can run really fast, and a little girl. You can see.
Huh.
But
I don't recognize them.
Yeah.
I don't know. The woman who could run fast. I think maybe they mentioned something to do with Apocalypse or something. I don't know. So some of these characters I just don't know because I haven't been reading long enough, maybe, or whatever. So that's kind of cool too. I'm getting introduced to characters that I don't really know. So.
Right.
And Tim Drake's actually not been too bad. So.
Oh no.
That storyline.
No, I mean, I plan on reading it. I know I'm gonna pick it up in trade. I'm not gonna buy it weekly. So.
That makes sense to me, Travis. It's not something that I'm feeling you have to go out and have right away. But I'm enjoying it, so I'm gonna keep getting it.
And to some degree, that's just my experience with when DC did when they did one of these weekly books before, when they did 52, the book 52. I didn't pick it up weekly. I picked up in trade. I really enjoyed reading it in trade, but I also know that there were lots of people who have kind of this similar taste to me in enjoyment of books who really struggled with it while it was coming out weekly, who didn't come away enjoying it the same way that I enjoyed it reading it in trade. So that's one of the reasons why. I'm
just worried over time, maybe, I'm going to fizzle out about it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Glancing over the comments, James Crowder is saying that he dropped Future's End because it wasn't very interesting to him. It was just kind of so. But
I can see that. There's sometimes, like, especially the grifter parts, I'm not loving. There's a lot of exposition instead of showing or doing something. There's a lot of internal monologue, and I didn't really want the character they're presenting. I really don't want to get to know. So.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's jump into some independent books.
Okay.
What'd you read in the independent books, Damien?
I actually only got 2 independent books this week. 5 Ghosts. Did anyone else get 5 Ghosts?
Mm-hmm.
Which it lost me a little bit.
I wanted to hear why.
Yeah. See, I saw you on Twitter saying that you're kind of, oh yeah, by the way, I also read this. You didn't seem very impressed, so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, I guess partially it's because it's been such a stretched out story, I kind of forgot what's going on. But somehow they just ended up on this island of dreams. I guess they were searching for, was it his sister?
No, they were searching for this island. They were out in the equivalent of the Bermuda Triangle looking for this mythical place.
Uh-huh. And he sacrifices his sister to save everyone else?
I don't know that he sacrifices his sister so much as he's given the opportunity, his heart's desire. He can fix his sister, which is why he's been on this adventure in the first place, or he can fix his allies that are right there on hand. And instead of fixing his sister, so his sister's still off in England or wherever it is that his home base is.
Oh, she's
still sick and comatose. And instead he saves his thief companion. Well, I can't remember her name right offhand. Because she had been basically gutted in this issue. So he stays the tragic character in that he doesn't get his sister saved. Yet one more time. Instead, he saves somebody else.
I guess it just didn't track for me very much. Maybe because I just forgot too much as we went along. Yeah, I guess I forgot completely what the purpose of this journey had been.
Yeah. And see, for me, I love this book. In some ways, you're right. It's really simple. It's to a large degree. There's not a lot to it as far as it being like complex dialogue or anything like that. There's certainly none of that in here. But I just find it a really enjoyable and exciting book. To me, it just feels very visceral. Just the art, the way the art is done. This incredible. You got to turn the book sideways. I love this dude. That's kind of his old friend whose basically body is being used as this monstrous corpse and stuff. I don't know. I even like the little bits of pieces of flashback, but I don't know. It just has this feel, and normally this wouldn't be my kind of comic because I don't know if simple is the word I want to use because obviously there are relatively complex things going on, but
yeah,
it's just the right kind of action book, I guess, for me. And so
I was feeling that way up to a point, and then the last 2 issues from before this, I was kind of losing the thread, and I was hoping the thread would come back more in this finale, and it didn't for me.
Yeah, there was one issue in this arc where they spent a lot of time on Fabian's history of him being associated with this thief, and we get lots and lots of pages of that flashback kind of thing where they make it all this kind of a look to it, and that issue I wasn't real happy with because this to me is, I mean, other than finding out his history, is not interesting art as compared to. When we're in the current timeline, there's, like I said, there's just stuff about this art, the style of it, the colors. It just feels, I don't know. It has to my eyeballs, it has a texture that's different from everything else that's out there, and I really enjoy it for that. But I can understand what you're talking about.
Well, and so my first thought was to drop it and read it in trades so that I could read it all together.
Sure, that makes perfect sense.
And then we were all dissing it together on Twitter, or a couple of us were.
Right.
And I kind of built myself up to almost maybe I won't even get it in trades, but I probably will get it in trades. Because I liked a lot about it, and I have the trade of the first 6 or 5 issues.
And so it's taking a break. It won't be back until like October or something like that.
Wow.
September?
That's a long break.
No, maybe it's not that long. I don't think it says in here, but I remember I thought I saw the writer on Twitter talking about how It says the fall. In this, in the letters page, it says the fall. In July,
Yeah.
in July, the second trade comes out. So if you're trade waiting, that's when you want to pick it up. And
So fall would presumably mean September or October, I
right,
guess.
right.
Mhm.
So a couple months break in there. Maybe that'll give us time for those people who are wondering to either decide to come back to it or enough time away from it to never need to come back to it. So, but I
Well,
really
love it.
yeah, same here.
I do love the art. I like on the back they make it look like a wrinkled piece of paper and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Love
cool.
the
Well, yeah, it's got a lot of old school stuff to it. It has that kind of pulp. The cover always has kind of pulp-ish kind of a look to it. It feels old. It feels like some old, magazine of that. Well,
Mhm.
from when we were kids, Damien. Those magazines that were more like the kind of in this case, the Savage Beast all kind of that kind
Right.
of stuff. They even go so far as to number the pages in the book, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that. Yeah.
which is all old school because nobody numbers pages in the books anymore except for this book does.
Mhm.
It's just all part of the throwback that I just get a kick. I get a
Oh,
kick
in a
out.
little bit, in some ways, it reminds me of reading like Savage Sword of Conan or something
Yes.
back in
Yeah.
the late 70s. But yeah, I love the art and I love a lot about it, but I just can't track the story that well.
Yeah. Well, it did. This one did. Like I said, there were points in there that it definitely meandered. I can see that. That's um, but I'm still really digging it. Like I said, it has that kind of Saturday morning, or from my youth, Saturday morning cartoon kind of a feel to it that just it strikes the right chord. So I'm still excited about it.
Cool.
What other indie book did you pick up?
Me?
The Wake?
My other one was the one that. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. The Wake.
Oh, I talked to Wake.
Oh. Yeah, what did you think?
I'm still enjoying the book. I never like it when a book needs to hurry up and explain what the hell has happened, and so we get these kind of montage of pictures and a brief. Oh, we hit all these really interesting things. Part of me thought, well, if there was this entire adventure that they went, that our current main character went on, they're out in this ship that is a giant
Mhm.
mer thing. That's their ship. They actually hide inside of a giant
Right.
merman. That's their ship, and they went on all these adventures and met these, cannibal type people, and we met these. Part of me wanted to read those. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Like, what's the point of showing him here in these little clips when it's meaningless almost?
Right.
Because
I mean,
we don't
okay,
really
right. It's
know
like,
about it.
right. It's like, oh man, part of me would have liked to have seen that adventure, but part of me wouldn't because it
Mhm.
does feel like part of the story, but at the same time, and we got one issue to tie it all up, and at the very end of this thing, it's almost this kind of heavenly thing happening. It feels like this second half is interesting, but not nearly as striking as the first half of the Wake was.
Yeah, I don't know.
And now it feels like it's just going to be a crazy pants thing for the last issue, because this was issue 9, issue 10's the final. How are they going to? What's going to get tied up? Anything? I don't.
Right. I don't know. I kind of feel like a lot of the stuff that they did do in the earlier issues was a waste, I mean, some of it was cool, but
Okay, when you say early issues of the second half?
the second half,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Okay.
I mean, because when we get to the end of it, it's just, I don't know, it's like, why did I go through all those issues to get to this? You know what I mean?
Right.
A lot of it felt kind of, I mean, some of it was important, but I felt like there's a lot of meaningless stuff.
Right. We get to this tomb, basically. There's this supposed story or whatever on the wall, and then it's like, oh, it's nothing, because then, of course, the bad guys show up again and attack them. Yeah. This second half doesn't. You're right. It doesn't feel plotted as well as what the first part. The first half was just amazing, and this has been kind of random in a sense.
Yes. That's a very good word for it.
Murphy's art is awesome in it, even though, despite this page not really, I mean, this is when they get attacked. it's like, yeah, whatever. But just all the crazy stuff that's in this page is just because they're like attacked by the entire alliance comes to blow them up. You know, they've got them trapped here, but they haven't even really told us why is this girl and her having heard this message. Why is it so important that they would have this huge, massive fleet come out to kill them?
Exactly. Exactly what I was feeling. It's like,
yeah, nothing in the story.
Why?
Nothing in the story warrants this. Send a few troopers out to get her, sure, but this, I mean, like I said, this page is awesome though. I mean, there's actually boats with Ferris wheels with missiles tied on it. I mean, the page is really dynamic and really cool and has lots of fun stuff in it as far as Murphy just having a good time. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how it all gets tied together because the end of it, where it's basically she's getting blown up and drowned, and then our character from the first half of the book suddenly shows up looking underwater but looking all kind of glowy and angel-like. I don't know.
Is she really there, or is it like a murder kind of hallucination?
Right. Yeah. Has she gotten poisoned? Yeah. Like I said, next issue I guess will tell us. But it's going to have a lot of explaining to do. Plus, how is that next issue going to justify in the first half of this run the pictures of Mars, the big laser cannon in the early, Neanderthal times out in the Sahara? There's a lot of stuff that needs to be tied together that I don't understand how in one issue that's going to be justified. So.
Yeah.
Then again, there could be some way that they tie it all together, and then I'll be on the next time going, oh my gosh, it's amazing how they tied all that stuff together, and it was really cool. But right now it feels blowing in the wind. It feels very lost. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
so
I'm happy to hear what you guys say after the next issue, then I'll buy the trade or not.
There you go. I tell you the first, because of course they put out the first half in a trade already. I don't know if ultimately they'll put it all together. I'd assume at some point. But to me, that first half by itself is worth the read.
It stands alone.
Is worth the read by itself, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've given it as gifts to several people. So I mean, just the first half.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was in trade actually. I didn't see it.
Yeah, they collected the first half. The first 5 issues out in a book. And then I'm sure they'll do the same with this. And then I'm sure at some point, if it sells well enough, they'll put out some big fancy version or whatever. And I don't know how long the delay is going to be for issue 10 because the artist got in a bicycle accident and broke his collarbone or something along those lines, broke his clavicle. So I know he's still, ouch. I know he's still working. He's still supposedly drawing. I just don't know how efficient or fast he is because I'm assuming you break that part of your body, it immobilizes your shoulder, and unless he's an artist that just uses his wrist or fingers, would be rough, I would think. So I don't know when that last issue we're gonna see that. So it'll be interesting.
So would you say this second half, if you hadn't read the first half, would be satisfying because you wouldn't have as high expectations? Or is it just doesn't work on its own? No.
It's really scattered.
It's very scattered. There are parts of it that you go, oh yeah, this is the story, this is great, okay, this is the story, yeah, up until a point. This one was the worst. This one was the worst though because they gave us like 3 pages of basically them telling us that they traveled halfway around the world and they met all these different things. They met these people, I can't remember what they're called, that literally they put themselves inside of these giant mechanical robots, but they put themselves in as babies, and so their bodies never grow. So their bodies stay these really small little people inside these mechanical robots. They're called the Naked Men or something like that is what they were called, which sounds really interesting. But we just get this brief little paragraph box saying that, and then they met these other kind of they look like savage cannibal kind of people who you can't eat anything but myrrh. If you eat anything but myrrh, gosh, bad things are going to happen. Just all these little things that could have happened, but they don't really, they didn't give it to us.
Right.
It felt like its own story that we should have been told, but instead they skipped over it all to get to this dramatic scene of them finding the thing they were supposed to find, and either be meaningful or not meaningful. You take your best guess, and then they blow it all up. It all gets blown down.
Yeah.
And the secondary main character is dead, dying, or hallucinating, or a combination of all.
Well, I don't know why, because I haven't read it. It makes me think of how Trillium, which was also by Vertigo, by a DC scripting star, started so great and then kind of fizzled at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wonder if there's a problem with the editorial process at Vertigo, where they let these guys go after they show they've got a good issue or two under their belt.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, we'll be curious to see how that. There's a lot that has to happen. It feels like for this final issue to try and make sense of the greater story. But I still stand by those first 5 issues are awesome.
Well, it's nice it's in its own trade. Then you don't even have to show people the other 5 issues.
That's right. I mean, it ends on kind of this horrible cliffhanger-ish, but it's not really a cliffhanger. I mean, you're doomed. I mean, that's I guess how it ends. But you know, that's okay. That's okay. Well, Damien, let's get in your other indie book that you picked up, because I know you're going to start running close on time here.
Yeah, I've got about 10 more minutes.
Right. So let's talk about that before we
Clone, which I think only a few of us in YouTube land are reading, but those who do love it. And this issue just slayed me. It was so good. But just as kind of a continuation of the story, nothing. It's got every issue they somehow up the suspense or find new ways to make it suspenseful, new little twists and tweaks that you didn't expect. And some of them are big, and some of them are small psychological twists, but they just have incredible impact, along with the incredible art. So I still just basically tell most people to go find the trades.
I need to do that.
They're so good. You could, I'm not sure if you could pick these up and track what's going on without reading the trades. I can imagine you might be able to fill in the blanks if you picked up this issue.
Or you pick up that issue, and then you just bug Sleepy on Twitter until he explains the rest of the plot to you.
Who's this? Who's that? That a while ago, to keep their baby safe, they gave it to the grandmother to take care of, because the clones are being hunted down by the government and by religious fanatics. And at the end of this issue, one of the religious fanatics has somehow come across their baby. So it's just like killing me to know what's going to happen to the baby next. But anyway, it's just a wonderful book. I love it. What other did you guys get?
What do you want to talk about, Jen?
Let's talk about Ghost, because I loved it, and now I'm really sad.
I know.
Oh wait, I got that too. Where'd my copy go? Huh.
That's a bummer, isn't it?
You just picked it up, right? Your first issue, Jen?
Yeah, it's my first issue. It was really. I loved it. I'm gonna have to go back and get the other issues. So.
And now Kelly Sue is off the book. The writer.
Why?
This is her last issue.
Who's taken over?
I believe it's Chris Sabella, who was her co-writer on 1 or 2 of the issues.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And I think he's been her co-writer on some of the Marvel work she's done.
Yeah. So, it could continue to be enjoyable. This was kind of a one-off story, and I really liked it. I enjoyed it. It was interesting to hear kind of this obituary and to get kind of what she was as a kid. What the ghost was as a kid was kind of interesting. And then we also get seeing just how brutal she personally can be.
Right, with those Johns.
Yeah, she's faking that she's a prostitute and scoops up a couple guys and pretty much goes to town on them. So
yeah.
I wasn't super excited by the art. This is a different artist.
Yeah.
They've gone through art changes. Almost every issue seems to have had a different artist on it, which is unfortunate. I didn't care for the art in this as much, just because I had a harder time recognizing who people were. These people look so much different than our 3 main characters who are kind of like Ghost's buddy. The three of them look so different than they looked in the last couple issues that it was like, whoa, are these are these the same people that that we read about prior? So
That's what I thought too. And when she was out of her ghost costume, I wasn't quite sure that was her when
I didn't
she
know it
was
was her.
picking up the Johns.
Yeah, I didn't know it was her. I thought it was some other story that at some point she was going to show up in it, or if that was her, that was her at a younger age. That somehow at some point in her life she was a prostitute or something. I thought we were getting some other secondary story of her past because, of course, the main part of the story was about her past.
See, that's what I thought too at first. Because
Yeah.
that really confused me.
Yeah, because she looks so young. Maybe that's what she was trying to do. Because even when she walks out at the very end, walks out of the building in her, as the ghost, her hair's a little longer and she looks older and carrying herself differently. But that may just be part of her disguise to act like the to act like a streetwalker. I don't know, but I still enjoyed it. I'm suspicious though whether or not I'm going to keep picking up the book with it changing creators and whatnot.
I almost worry they're going to give up on it. That they're just going to assign third-level artists to it and not put the effort into it that they did the first 3 issues.
Yeah, I mean, other than this is one of their books that's supposed to be part of their superhero line, and this last year or the year prior, Dark Horse had kind of committed to the fact that they were going to put out a superhero line of books, and they lumped her in with that, which she does not feel like a superhero to me. But I guess. So yeah, I don't know, and I don't know exactly what what was there. I don't know if Kelly Sue just had too much on her plate, and that was one of the things she decided not to do, or exactly what was about it.
I've heard her interviewed saying that she needed to drop some books, that she can't be as prolific as some people can, and keep up the quality.
Sure. Well, and she's got 2 young children and her life to live beyond writing, so completely understandable.
I think writing as many as she's writing would be hard for anybody.
Completely understandable, and and I'm sure there's probably a bigger paycheck with Marvel than there is with Dark Horse.
Mhm.
So
and she's going to start a second series at Image.
Oh, that's right. She's got the Bitch Planet,
right?
Along with, I'm assuming she's still working on Pretty Deadly, I would guess.
Deadly, that Bitch Planet, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
3 comics a month, I think, is what most fairly prolific writers can do, not counting Charles Soule.
Well, he's an aberration. Everybody calls him so yeah. But yeah, so that's
and I'd rather her do Bitch Planet than Ghost, even though I like Ghost. I want to see what Bitch Planet.
Yeah, same here. I really want to see that book and what that's going to be about. The cover image
I think
alone.
I'll try Ghost for a few more issues because I just like the vibe of the book, and I'm hoping the guy, since he was a co-writer, can keep it going.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to hang on for a while too, just to see what happens and stuff. I mean, I like the setting, I like the character. I think there's a lot that they can do and play with there and have some fun. So, but yeah, we'll see. Fingers crossed. Any other indie books? I've got a few more.
I have a few, but I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
Okay, so I'll talk about this because.
Okay, I want to know about that.
Because this is Ted McKeever, who I really like. I really like his stuff because his stuff is just strange. I just got done reading in trade Metaphor, which is just a total crazy pants story, and I loved it. But anyway, so the superannuated man. First off, I didn't know what superannuated meant, so I had to look that up because I was curious as to what that was. And so basically, out of date, useless, kind of basically, for those that don't know, because like I said, I didn't.
I didn't know. I thought it was stretched out or something.
Yeah, no, but it's basically antiquated. Basically, is what it is. Something that's out of date. If you're still using a beeper, for instance, as opposed to a cell phone, is basically kind of the thing. The first thing I want to say about it is one of the things that frustrates me is this is a golden age format. And for those that don't know, so here's a modern age comic, and
Oh,
here's the golden age. And the only reason this frustrates me is now I'm going to have to set up another play date with Damien so he can bring me some more golden age bags, because I don't have any golden age bags, and I don't want to go buy a big bulk of golden age
Our
bags.
whole friendship is based on that.
It is.
An occasional golden age bag.
Oh, no, but at any rate, so that frustrates me in that sense, in the fact I don't know why they do that, other than the pages are a little bit bigger. What this story basically is, so far, we've got these kind of mutated people who are people animals living in this city, and this guy, who seems to be a normal, as well as normal could be, human, living on the ship that's parked in the bay. And there's no real plot yet that I know of, other than reading the back matter on the back of the book that tells me kind of what the plot is. He's just living his life. The mutant animals are living their lives, and they've started bugging him. They left him alone up to this point. Now they're starting to bother him. But the art, it's all black and white. It's all black and white. But I just love the art style. The guy writes really just strange kind of things. Like this opening page where you have this fish eye, and then you get the fish head, and then the camera keeps backing up, and the fish is laying flat in the water next to this foot as these guys are sitting on the dock talking about this freak that lives in this boat, and the freak is this human guy who talks to him. He has no friends. He talks to a mannequin. The mannequin, he dresses up. He swaps clothes with the mannequin. So the mannequin stands on his boat so people think he's still there all the time, even if he's not. And normally what he does is he goes scuba diving and collects junk, I'm assuming, to sell. But we haven't really gotten that far into it. There's some creature out in the ocean that's kind of spying on him, this weird tentacle thing, but it ends up being attached to this crazy mass that's almost whale-like. But I can't tell you what the book's about. It's just, the back thing says a simple supply run to Blackwater, a seasoned town overrun by mutated animals, is anything but routine for he, H-E, one of the few remaining humans.
So is it a miniseries or?
Yes. Yes, it's like 9 issues, I think.
9 issues, huh?
Yeah.
I might go out and grab it. It just looks enjoyable in its differentness.
It is. It's just it is a strange kind of, and like I said, I really love his artwork. Have for a lot of years. This guy did the final probably 10 issues of Doom Patrol back in the really big Doom Patrol during the Vertigo era.
Yeah, I think that's what
Damien, he's the artist that did Engine Head, if you remember that book I talked about from the first comic book parfait that we talked about. He was the artist for that.
Right. I do remember that, yeah.
He did a Batman run. I can't remember what it's called right now that I have to get. I didn't realize he'd ever done Batman, but I have to go out and get that. There's some Batman run that he did, because he just has his own kind of weird art style. I missed out on, I guess he did Miniature Jesus too, I guess is his work. Here is a rhino man at the very end of the book. He snatched this guy up. I don't know if he's actually snacked on him or not, or if he's just drooling on him, getting ready to eat him. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. There's no way for me to explain it. It's just like when I talked about that trade metaphor. I don't even begin to know how I would tell people what the book is about. It's just kind of a strange trip. It's, I don't know, maybe falls more under artsy kind of stuff than it does like I said, I could never tell people to run out and get it, other than if you've got a spare $4 to throw at something just to see something that's a little weird.
Well, it sounds like one of those things you like it for itself. You wouldn't want all comics to be like that.
Oh, no. Yeah, definitely. Definitely it falls. It's like nothing like it whatsoever, but it's like the Brandon Graham stuff. I like Brandon Graham stuff. His I'm drawing a Multiple Warhead, for instance. I love it for what it is, but you would not want an overdose of that. Do you know what I mean? So him
or
putting
Shaolin
out
Cowboy.
right, or Shaolin Cowboy. Him having one book is awesome, but I wouldn't want to see a bunch of books like it. But
Guys, I've got to run back to parenthood duties, so I'm really glad I got a chance to do a live hangout, which I haven't
Yeah.
done in a while, and hopefully again sometime soon.
Yes. Thanks.
So,
Thanks for coming on, Dave.
and I'll watch the rest of the show tomorrow.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, Damien.
I also picked up Nail Biter #2. I still don't know if I'm sold on this book or not. It's somewhat interesting, but it has a lot of the what you still feel like typical tropes of if you were going to do a book with a bunch of serial killers in it. It seems to want to hit all those kinds of notes, and I'm kind of waiting for it to do something different to make me excited, because I've read so many here lately. It seems like between Matter Red and Bedlam and some of that stuff that just feels like a lot of these books are all treading the same ground. So I don't know. Don't know that I'm super excited by it, because it's gonna turn into a, the crazy criminal helps them solve the crime kind of a thing. It sounds.
Right.
And so that, to me, that's the same thing I've already read. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got Suicide Risk, and I got Lobster Johnson. Get the Lobster. They were both decent. Nothing I'm gonna talk a whole lot about here, because you didn't read either one of these, right, Jen?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they're both decent, fun books, but nothing I want to chat about right now. Got any other indie books you want to talk about, or should we move on to Marvel?
I got a few more. I also got Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah, how is that? I was nervous. I love the movie. As we've all talked about it, how much we love the movie. So I was really nervous to pick up a comic and have it be flat, and I'm not happy with it. So.
Well, it wasn't terrible. I mean, it was fun, kind of. It picks up right where the movie ends, pretty much.
Yeah.
Where he's driving away in the Pork Chop Express, and that kind of demon thing had climbed in there with him.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of where it starts, and he finds out this demon's there, so he has to turn back around and take the demon back, like, to try to get rid of it. But when he gets there, he finds out that the demon was kind of attached to Lopan, and whoever kills Lopan, it attaches to him, so he's kind of stuck with this kind of beast demon thing. He dresses it up in like a t-shirt and a hat and stuff like that.
Nice.
Kind of funny. Yeah,
Nice.
It's funny, I mean, and it's got the characters in it that, we love, you got Wang and...
So does it got Jack giving some great lines in it?
Well, it has a similar feel to the movie for me, and he even uses some of the same lines in the beginning, and so there's kind of... I laughed a few moments, but it's still, I don't know, it didn't feel the same, I didn't have that.
Right. Yeah, see, my worry was it would feel like somebody's doing a sequel, and I just don't know. It's one of those kind of things that if they suddenly announced that they were doing a sequel to Big Trouble in Little China, I would be going, oh God, please don't. Kind of a thing.
That's what it feels. If you want more of Big Trouble in Little China, like you wanted it to continue into a sequel type situation, I would say this is the book for you. I probably won't pick it up anymore unless I see the new story that it goes on. If it goes in a direction that seems really interesting, I might hop back on it. But there just wasn't enough there for me to be like, I don't know. It didn't pick up the nostalgia enough for me to want to. It did in the sense that, I read the comic and I felt good about it, and the nostalgia, it made me want to go watch the movie again.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
So I like that I have this one, but I don't know if I want to keep getting it.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to pester John to get an opinion from him, because I know he's a big fan. Also, I know he picked up the book. I don't know if he's read it yet, so I'll be curious to hear what he has to say about it too.
Yeah. So that's it for what I want to talk about as far as indies go.
Marvel. Let's talk Marvel. And you know what? This is an interesting week for me. I actually have technically I have more Marvel books than I do DC, and this is
I
probably
have 5.
the first time ever I can say that, and probably not to date myself in 30 years. So, but one of the Marvel books I didn't read, I'll just briefly, Iron Fist. I got issue number 3. I really did not like issue 2. I know some people are really excited by the book. I think it's great. I haven't read number 3 yet, and I don't know if I'm going to force myself to read it because I really dislike number 2 that much. So that's what I have to say about it. But let's go into Marvel books. I'm betting we probably picked up a lot of the same books. So which do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's talk about Moon Knight.
Okay. Moon Knight.
I really like this issue. It was
Yeah.
great, and it also pisses me off because I know he's leaving the book. So
Yeah, they're all leaving. Jody Valeri, the colorist, is the only person that's going to hang around. Warren Ellis and
right.
and Shalvey are going to be off. Are leaving the book. I guess from what I've read, Ellis never planned on doing more than 6 issues. He basically they hired him to, breathe life back into the character, to kickstart the character back into the Marvel again, into the mainstream Marvels, to see, so they could use him however they chose to, and he did that, and that's fine. It's a bummer because the more we get into this book, I like these one-shot. This is a one-and-done story. It's got this great kind of creepy, eeriness to it, and it doesn't answer every question in the book, but it answers it enough for you to feel satisfied that the hero did the job that needed to be done and walks away from it on to the next thing. Yeah, and the art in this one is just incredible, the whole mushroom thing and whatnot.
Yeah, that was so cool.
There's plenty of pages where it's really up to the art to tell the story because there's not a lot of dialogue, and it's really cool, and I like these one and dones. So not to get heavily into a lot of whatever, Brian Wood is going to be writing the book after this. Plenty of discussions as to why some of us aren't getting the book. I don't think we need to go over that again, do we? Unless you're wanting to go over that again, because we've talked. We've had plenty of hangouts where we've talked about it before. He's supposedly going to keep writing it in that style, in the one and done. That's so. You're really loving Moon Knight. You like Brian Wood. I wouldn't say. I guess I'm not familiar with the artist. I can't remember what the artist's name that's on it. I'm not familiar with their work to know what that's going to be like as far as the art goes. But this was an amazing book, and I guess I'm excited for 2 more issues. I'm going to pick up those 2 more issues, and then I'm done with the book for a number of reasons. The behavior of the writer, plus I haven't liked anything that Brian Wood has written of a franchise-owned character. I've tried everything that he's written and haven't enjoyed any of it. So in the past, I've enjoyed his indie books a lot, but I'd probably be off the book for a number of reasons, I guess, besides the main one. At any rate, yeah, really loved it. The one thing I thought was interesting about this one is it felt like the first 3 issues were showing us different aspects of Moon Knight. This one didn't really, though, did it?
No, it didn't.
As far as it seemed like they were showing us these 4 aspects or 5 aspects that supposedly the phases that he has. This one didn't feel like any one of those. And maybe somebody out there at YouTube land will hit me up and say, "Oh no, it showed this," but it didn't feel like that to me.
I mean, he was back in the suit, you know what I mean, which seems to be his more rational type persona.
It's his business suit, yeah, his business.
Yeah. But when he went into, like, the mushroom place, he put on the more Spectre-looking suit.
The armored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought that was kind of interesting, at least, when he performs this certain kind of task, he changes the way that he looks.
Right.
So that kind of stuck with it. But
yeah. Great book that, well, I guess I'll save a little bit of money not buying it anymore. So, anyway, what do you want to talk about next?
Superior Foes?
Yes. Yay!
That was so good. It was back.
The first thing about it is, of course, Nick Spencer's back on the writing. Artist is back on it, and the opening page alone, well, not the opening page, because the opening page is the recap, and I quite frankly never read it. But the first page is awesome, solely because
Mm-hmm.
you get his kind of dialogue, and it's like, and then immediately the second box says, "Wow, does it feel like we've been gone a long time?" It's like the 2 issues before this were like an accident. There's something that didn't really happen, and they kind of, it just feels to me like they immediately wrote those out, saying, whatever. And now we have this great book that's back to all of the perfect beats that the book has been. It's just hilarious how stupid these people are, and the I don't know, just the whole thing's just funny.
Boomerang.
Boomerang
Because
trying
a
to
lie is only good if you can sell it twice.
Twice, right? He's talking the whole chameleon thing and whatnot, and he's got the owl duped, and I don't know, and then the gangsters, they're talking like Cagney, I just
Oh, right.
the
Right,
whole
that
thing.
was hilarious.
Yeah. If you've been reading this book and you were cursing the last 2 issues, thinking that things had gone bad, come back, pick this up. Let's keep this book going, because it's just fun. It's just a hilarious laugh. The final page for the next issue, I think, is absolutely hilarious too. So something witty about cosplay, and it's got all of the Sinister Six dressed up like other villains.
Yeah.
And the Sinister 16. I don't know. The whole thing was just.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, he got all those guys to come in and then just did to them what he did to his group in the other book. So.
Yeah. And I can't wait. I can't wait to find out what the Shocker is going to do. Sees how he's kind of.
I know.
He's forced himself into this false bravado of, forget it. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to take this head. I don't know what he's going to do.
Well, the head kind of talked him into it, right?
Like bullies him into it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and he tells them, these other guys have been manipulating you, kind of a thing. Be a man, and
Right.
So that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a really good book. I love this book. I want it to come back in a different version. Like, I don't know what they call it, but just bring it back.
Yep. Loki, Agent of Asgard?
Yep.
I really enjoyed this issue. I've been enjoying all these. It's got the right kind of smart about it. There's this constant game going on of who's manipulating who's playing who in what fashion. And in this one, we get towards the end of it, and it kind of ties back into the initial issue 1, where we got this kind of crazy ending with this kind of, it almost felt menacing, because the ancient old evil Loki is there, and that Loki shows up in this, and he's not the old evil Loki. He's actually the Loki of the future. We find out he's kind of manipulated a whole from way back in time. He basically manipulated the creation of this sword just for this moment that happens in this issue, so he can kind of lay it all out there and put the heat on our Loki. And I'm just really curious to see what happens next. And Jen, you were commenting to me on Twitter, what the heck happened? There's no order for this. Well, there's a mini series. Did you read this in the back the letters page?
Yeah, that's what I figured out, because I was like going back, and I did not order Original Sin.
Yeah, I didn't either.
The Thor and Loki thing, because I'm really tired of crossovers, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, I don't really need to get this. I'm just going to continue with the Loki book.
Right.
I didn't realize I wasn't going to get Loki for a while because there's like 5 issues that they're writing. Yeah. I guess so.
So this doesn't come back until September. I still don't plan on picking that up unless somebody else out there starts reviewing that miniseries when it comes out and just tells me it works on its own. First and foremost, it works on its own. I don't have to go buy the other Original Sin stuff to understand what's going on in it, and it's blowing them away, then I guess I will figure out how to get to a store and buy it from a store. Otherwise, I'm just going to wait it out until September and hope the book comes back and has some of its same stuff in it. I hope they don't. I hope they don't address too much of this future evil Loki thing
Yeah.
in that and leave me
Right.
with nothing coming out the other end of it. So
Because that was my thought. I thought, well, it's going to be something separate from this book, and it's probably not going to affect it too much. But I don't know. I know it's to do with Angela or whatever being Thor and Loki's sister or something.
is that who
So.
that was? Okay, weird,
Mhm.
weird. But so yeah, that's a bummer that we're gonna break on that. But good, I guess that's coming back. And like I said, I'm so crossover event fatigued. I just do not care to venture into
Same here. I'm not
any of
getting
those
it.
stuff. Yeah. So hopefully it doesn't wreck it. And even if it makes it more difficult coming out the other side of it, I'll figure it out and go on anyway. I can miss a few issues and no big deal. So
I figure I can always just pick it up and trade if it's
yeah,
that important.
right. Do you read Magneto?
I don't.
Don't.
I've heard it's good though.
It is. I've really enjoyed it. This issue was really interesting. I was kind of hoping there'd be other people on that read it so I could ask some questions. There's a character in this that basically introduces herself to Magneto. She's been following him. She basically dangles a really big carrot in front of him. She has all this information about some people that Magneto wants to really strike hard against. But you also get this kind of flashbacks of her history, and I get the impression that somehow she was actually hurt by Magneto. So I don't know exactly where she plays at in the whole grand scheme of things, and I don't know if she's a character that has existed in the past. And because my Marvel knowledge isn't as strong as my DC knowledge, I just don't know who she is, and her existence is in this book is more significant just in beyond what I can read out of the book that she's this person that's been hurt. For some reason, she's helping Magneto, but really, is she helping him, or is she setting him up for some bigger fall? But yeah, this Magneto? It's been really good. It's been really interesting seeing this guy kind of drag himself from place to place, crushing people who are trying to hurt mutants. He's back to his old self. He has no qualms whatsoever with killing whoever it is that might be hurting mutants, but he doesn't have the massive crazy power that he used to have. He's kind of depowered, so he has to do things on a smaller scale, on a more of a terrorist level, as opposed to big all powerful supervillain kind of a thing. And it's been interesting and a pretty good read.
So Cullen Bunn writes that, right?
Yeah.
He's the writer. Is he really evil, brutal Magneto?
Yes. I mean, he's not just wiping casually everybody out, but like he will. A couple issues ago, there's a woman that has some information and he needs the information, and he tortures her to get that information. And how he tortures her is he literally takes a paper clip and basically runs it into her body. And if she doesn't answer properly, he kind of slowly runs it up her arm, using his magnetism, and ends up finishing her off. By the time he gets what he needs, he does finally kill her off by basically running that paperclip all through her body. So I mean, it's brutal in that sense. He isn't just wiping everybody out, but if you're clearly on the side of anti-mutant, kill mutants, hurt mutants, he has no issues with.
Okay.
I mean, in the first issue, he meets a guy who has done lots of studies on mutants and on ways to inhibit the mutant gene to keep people from becoming mutants, which of course, as far as Magneto's concerned, is an insult and it is a way of trying to wipe his race out as far as he's concerned. He's at this coffee shop, meets the guy for coffee. He literally pulls the fillings out of the guy's head, his fillings out of his teeth, and replaces them with street poles. It drags him out into the street and literally rips up metal, light poles and drives them through his head. So he's left in the middle of the intersection, this head kicked back with these light poles shoved through his head. I mean, so when he
Wow.
decides he's taking somebody out, he makes a statement. You know,
Mhm.
it's no joke. But he isn't just indiscriminately just wiping everybody off the map. He doesn't have a problem with the human race. He has a problem with humans who have a problem with mutants. So,
Okay.
and he's on the run. He's on the run. Like I said, he doesn't have crazy powers. He can't lift up stadiums and throw them around. He's so
Mm.
he's on the run, and there's a whole task force of Shield agents that are their whole job is to hunt him down. So that's the part of it that's going on. So,
Cool.
what other Marvel books do you pick up?
Well, I got the Amazing X-Men Annual,
Uh-huh.
which was about Storm, and I mean it was okay. It was probably not worth the annual price, you know, and unless you were really into Storm and you wanted to hear like a backstory of, you know, her life or more about her, I wouldn't pick it up.
Hmm.
It wasn't bad or anything, but I don't know. It's kind of just a throwaway issue.
Yeah.
And then I also got Amazing X-Men, which I'm really enjoying this book. It's
Right.
fun. I wasn't sure how I would feel about this because I don't know a lot about this, what the Wendigo. I guess there are people who ate people and
Right.
become like these monsters,
Yeah.
which the concept was kind of weird for me.
Yeah.
But no, the issue was pretty good. It was fun. I'm liking the cast. Other than
So who is the cast right
I'll be
now?
glad when
I pick up a couple of the
um
first issues, but I didn't continue with it.
well you've got Nightcrawler, Firestorm, Firestar, I think, Iceman, and Storm,
Okay.
and Wolverine. I think those are kind of the main.
Okay.
This issue went to Canada though, and
So
Alpha
we got
Flight.
Alpha Flight.
And,
I see that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. It's fun. It feels to me kind of like how I remember feeling when I read X-Men when I was younger. So
Well,
I enjoy
yeah.
that.
I hear a lot of that. That's what a lot of people describe it as being kind of a fun throwback book like that. So.
Yeah. So I don't know, and it's interesting to see what's going to happen with this. I'll kind of be glad if Wolverine's gone. Colossus was in this too.
Oh.
This issue.
Mhm.
So yeah, and like for the next issue we see, you got Colossus and Storm, and I'm kind of hoping. I mean, I guess Wolverine's dying, so
All right, I would assume, yeah, they're gonna kill him. They're gonna kill him in his own book. So I'd assume he'd be out of everybody else's books at some point.
right. So I'll kind of be glad when that happens.
No.
But other than Wolverine, I'm loving it. So.
Yeah. The other I picked up was Captain America. I'm still reading this. I don't know a lot of other people who are, but or at least not that I talked to a whole lot. This one has a really big wow ending at the end of it. This is the end of the arc. The bad guy here gets defeated at the end of it. But the big reveal at the end of this is this Iron Nail dude. I don't know if it's his power or whatever, but this ends up being Captain America. I don't know if you guys can see that there. He's an old man. His super soldierness gets sucked out of him. It ends with him being basically what he would look like if he had aged right along with everybody else. He'd been somebody who was alive during World War II, and now he's this old guy in his what?
Wow.
That put him in his 90s, right? And it ends. It ends with him sitting in a hospital bed, older than crap.
Wow.
And it's entitled Super Soldier No More. And they've been kind of hiding this. It was kind of interesting. Rick Remender was on Twitter this week saying, we didn't tell you this was going to happen. We didn't hype it up or whatever. Do you enjoy this more, getting this kind of shocking surprise than having us wreck it for you by telling the solicitations and everything about it. And I have to admit, I much more appreciate not knowing than them making it so hyped up that you kind of end up guessing what's going to happen. So I was going to be done with this book at the end of this arc because I really liked it in the Dimension Z arc because it had more of a sci-fi feel to it. Because I personally am not a really big Captain America fan for the sake of Captain America. Now, with what's happened, I'm just curious enough to see how he's going to handle suddenly becoming a senior citizen. How is that going to affect him? Along with the stuff that happened with S.H.I.E.L.D. in this, that now they've hooked me into probably reading another arc because I want to know, I want to know what what happens now that he's not a super soldier anymore, and how are they going to fix that?
That's crazy. So does that mean in like Avengers books and stuff like that, he's going to be an old man now, or?
I don't know. They'll pull him out of those books for the time being, or exactly what? I'm not sure, but yeah. Or if it's like he's just temporary this way, and whatever this effect that it had on him will slowly fade away, and he'll go back to being, he'll slowly get youthful again. I don't know, but yeah, right now like I said, he's an old geezer,
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm really curious now to see what's going to happen with that. So that's kind of exciting. But yeah, that was it for my Marvel books. It's a big week.
Me too.
So, any news type stuff we want to talk about? I see they did find a director for Ant-Man now, so Ant-Man movie's back on.
No.
I know. What a bummer. I can't remember who it is. I've seen people talking about how it's somebody that's pretty generic, but I don't know. I can't remember who the director was because I really don't care because I just don't care about an Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
Nothing about an Ant-Man movie is going to get me excited about it. Not to say that I won't watch an Ant-Man movie at some point, but I have a hard time envisioning myself standing in line at the movie theater to go see Ant-Man.
Well,
yeah.
I don't dislike the character. I like the character.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like the direction that the movie was going in at all. It was going toward Ant-Man I don't really care about,
Right.
So I'm kind of glad that it was
off the rails for a while, yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll get a rewrite of the script or something, and who knows? I don't know. Maybe I could still be happy, but I doubt it. So I probably just won't see it. But I don't know. Other news. I read something that Marvel may be getting rid of, like Fantastic Four in the comics.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of strange. I mean, in a weird way, it makes sense because Disney owns them now, and they want to kind of promote things they can make movies out of. I would assume that's probably why they're pushing like Inhumans and stuff like that in their books. Right.
Now, I see where that makes sense because obviously Fox owns Fantastic Four as far as movie rights go. And, of course, they're going to be putting out a new Fantastic Four movie, right? So that makes somewhat sense. But not having a product out makes no money, right? Not having a Fantastic Four makes no money. If you have a Fantastic Four book, you can make it whatever you want to, and there is a chance that somebody who goes and watches a Fantastic Four movie will then go buy a Fantastic Four book. And so you're making money off of something that you didn't spend any money on, right? Not having the book exist at all, what does that do for Marvel and Disney? It does nothing. And it's not like...
Here's the perspective I think that Disney executives are probably taking. Like, if we're making Fantastic Four, then we're making material for Fox to keep pulling from. And the more energy we put in there, then they're going to get ideas from it. When we could be working on ideas for our own movies.
Okay.
So that's kind of the view that I think they're probably taking.
Right. So here's the next question. Fox has the right to use Fantastic Four because they own the movie rights to that. But how much else do they own the movie rights to?
See, I wondered about that too.
They've used Dr. Doom, right, in some sense.
And Silver Surfer.
So the Silver Surfer.
Is Silver Surfer going to go away? I don't know.
I'm assuming those are characters that they have the right to continue to use because they've used them. It's not like they can draw from the rest of the Marvel Universe, can they? I mean, I'm not even sure that they could get away with. I would think that the stories they write would have to be very careful that Marvel couldn't turn around and say, you stole from our stories, because they don't own, you know what I mean? they don't own. They own. I don't know. I'm really curious as to how the contract is written. They own Fantastic Four, the movie rights to Fantastic Four, but do they own? Do they own the Do they own the
It'd be interesting to
storylines?
know
Do they own the,
which characters and stories and stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
because it seems bizarre to me that you would take Fantastic Four, and it's struggled here lately. I think they haven't had good runs, but still, it's Fantastic Four. It's like the first superhero group comic book that you would
Well,
pull it out of circulation just. And I'm not a Fantastic Four fan. I've tried, and so far I have not been excited by it. But it still blows my mind from a historical perspective that book wouldn't be in existence. It's just like, what?
right. Well, and I mean, it could always come back in the future. So it's just because they're taking it away now doesn't mean they. But they just relaunched it. You know, that's the thing. They just relaunched Fantastic Four.
I haven't heard anybody talking about it though. I mean, I tried the
yeah,
Matt Fraction.
I don't know.
I tried the Matt Fraction run. I did not enjoy it. It was very boring. And I didn't try the James Robinson run, and I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
but
But there
I
are
don't-
people who just love those characters.
Sure.
You know.
sure.
So I can understand. I don't know. There's a market there somewhat. The same people have been buying forever. You know. So
Well-
it's kind of weird for me to think that they're just going to throw that money away. But it's nothing compared to what they're going to make from developing movie franchises for themselves. You know, so if they want their writers focused on stuff that they can make into movies,
So do you think?
fantastic.
So do you think that basically Marvel now is just a seeding ground for movies? That's the only reason
Yes.
they make. So you think that's the only reason they're making comic books now is for potential movie material?
I think that it's going to turn into that more and more. Yeah. I mean, that's
That's
the way Disney's going to want it. You know.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, it's not so much a bummer if people are writing good comics that they turn into
That's
movies.
true.
But if the flow goes the opposite direction, if the toilet gets clogged and it
Right.
backs up and goes from good comics create whatever kind of movies, that the movies even more influence the comic book, and the comic books become the base that movies are.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know.
That'll be sad.
I mean, I would hope that they just want to be putting out good comics that they could possibly turn into movies, you know. But I think I mean, there's a focus on things like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think Inhumans now, and things like that they're hoping to be able to make movies out of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they can't make Fantastic Four movies, so.
Right.
And they're not going to get rid of X-Men or Spider-Man because those are just way too popular, I don't think. But you know, they could possibly.
It's the same premise. I just don't. You know, yeah. I understand what you're saying, but it just seems bizarre to me that I'm gonna take my toys and go home with them because to me it strikes me as it seems like free promotion for your characters.
Right, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, but as far as money goes, they make a lot more money off of movies than they do off comics.
Without a doubt. But there's not as much overhead in a comic book as there is in a movie either. But yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I just I read some of that too, and that came out, and I was like, I can't imagine them actually doing that. But that hasn't been.
At
that's
first,
not a,
when I read it, I was like,
but that's
it's
not
not
official,
official,
though, right?
I don't think.
Okay. Just a rumor, kind of.
It's just a rumor, but yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other news.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know of anything. So, well, one thing. Well, I'll talk to you about it. So there's that, of course, the Constantine, or Constantine, however you want to say it, TV show that's coming out. They gave us an official air date now when it's gonna come out. Originally, they said that it was going to be part of the beginning of fall season. Now it's coming out in September when most of your typical fall season shows starts. It's not coming out until October 24th. Do you think they're doing that to put it closer to Halloween, to kind of bill it as a scary Halloween-y kind of show, like Walking Dead and that sort of a thing? Or or are they suddenly going, ooh, we don't know if we have as much faith in this as being a fall opening show, and so they're not.
I don't know. I mean, my first thought was that's pretty close to Halloween, you
Yeah.
know. So I thought maybe they were going to do kind of a promotion of it that way, which kind of makes sense, I suppose.
Sure.
But
Because it deals
I
with
don't
the
know.
occult and all that kind of stuff. I guess for me being
Right.
the pessimist, my first thought was, is, oh crap, they just backed it up. Now it's not. Now it's not.
If it was, I don't know, it's only like a month off, so that doesn't really worry me too much,
Yeah.
more than I was already worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just curious. I just thought it was kind of interesting that part of it changed, but
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still worried about that, but I mean,
Oh, I
if
am.
it's bad, it'll just go away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, okay. Well, I'm looking at it this way. For me, they already did as much damage as they can to that character by canceling the Hellblazer version of the book and leaving us with the weak shadow of a book that the Constantine book is. So, them putting out a TV show and it sucking isn't going to hurt my feelings any, because they already did the biggest damage they could do as far as I'm concerned. So I am
Right.
curious about the show. I'll be watching it to see
Oh,
what
I'm definitely gonna watch it,
see
but
what it ends up being
yeah,
like. But yeah, it's kind
maybe
of
I've got low expectations. I'm kind of more excited for the Gotham TV show to see where they go with that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Interesting times ahead as far as entertainment outside of comic books that have to do with comic books, is to see what that ends up all being like. That's for sure. So yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, there isn't really any big. I haven't seen any comic book announcements of anything new that's coming out that's going to be you know, that's that big of a deal, I guess. So I guess
I
we're
would
done for the. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I would expect maybe sometime soon DC is going to announce some new books, maybe. But
Yeah, because they've still got books that they're shutting down, right? So
mhm,
I would guess so too. I'm still crossing my fingers for a Doom Patrol book, but I'm
me
also
too.
I'm
But
also
I'm
frightened. I'm also frightened because, of course, I'm still getting the stupid Justice League book just because they keep teasing us with Doom Patrol
right.
stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. Is that the next issue? Um,
I
the Doom Patrol's going to be in.
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
There's a couple I think that they're supposedly
Right.
still kind of toying with being in and whatnot. So we'll see what that ends up being like. I don't know. They're billing them as villains, and that just bugs me to no end. So
Right. Yeah. It's really concerning me. It's making me think, well, maybe they're not going to get a book because of that.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, we saw what happened last time they were introduced. So.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. Hopeful. Yes. But, okay, so I think we've talked the week out, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
Seems so.
thank you for coming and joining me, and thank you everyone out there who's been watching and commenting. I didn't really read comments a whole lot tonight. I apologize for that. I was kind of pressed on time. I wanted to get as much comic book talking in with Damien as I could before he had to take off. Next week, hopefully, we'll be back at the normal time or whatever, and we'll make sure and read comments along the way and enjoy talking about some comic books. Have a good night, everybody.
Night.